One of the things I said up front in the show today was that Donald Trump, and he seems to have backed off it a little bit. There was a report in the Washington Post, and I suspect this is why actually he backed off it a little bit. Well, there's probably two reasons. But Trump yesterday, I guess, during his daily White House news conference, he said America will again and soon be open for business very soon. We cannot let the cure be worse than the problem itself. This is what he had to say yesterday. This is clip number 2. And he was basically arguing that the restrictions will be lifted soon. And now, of course, health experts are not saying this. Donald Trump is saying this. Do we have that video, Brendan? Do we have Brendan? Here we go. All right, here's that video. We don't have sound. We'll be right on that 1 second. And we should say that there was a report that preceded his announcement, or I should say that followed his announcement when people started to look into this. What is going on? This is funny. Well, it's sort of funny. President Trump's private business has shut down 6 of its top 7 revenue-producing clubs and hotels because of restrictions meant to slow the spread of novel coronavirus, potentially depriving Trump's company of millions of dollars of revenue. I guess one of these things like makes him, what is it, like $70 million a year? His 7 producing clubs bring in about almost $200 million a year, so 174. $478,000 a day, $500,000 a day. And he's pissed about it. And so he gets up and goes to the press conference. And of course, there's no doctors who are going to, or I should say public health officials or epidemiologists who are going to in any way provide any backing for this statement. But here he goes.
Definition, and I will say we're going to be watching our senior citizens very closely. We're going to be watching certain hotspots like New York, and within New York you have areas which are troubling, and we'll be working with the governor and the mayor and everybody else on those spots. But at the same time, at a certain point, we have to get open and we have to get moving. We don't want to lose these companies. We don't want to lose these workers. We want to take care of our workers. So we'll be doing something, I think, relatively quickly, but we've learned a lot during this period. This was a very necessary period. Tremendous information was gained, but we can do 2 things at one time. You know, and again, I say we have a very active flu season, more active than most. It's looking like it's heading to 50,000 or more deaths, not cases, 50,000 deaths, which is, that's a lot. And you look at automobile accidents, which are far greater than any numbers we're talking about. That doesn't mean we're going to tell everybody no more driving of cars. So we have to do things to get our country open. But this has been an incredible period of learning, and we'll have announcements over the next fairly short period as to the timing. John?
All right. Now, there's 2 things. He wants to do 2 things at one time. One thing is he wants to prevent the spread of a pandemic. And the other thing he wants to do is not prevent the spread of a global pandemic. And he wants to do those 2 things at the same time. And what he doesn't seem to understand is that the second thing, not preventing a global pandemic, will trump, excuse the pun, the attempting to suppress and prevent the spread of a global pandemic. You can't do both those things at the same time. And he cited the flu. It is true. We lose anywhere from 40 to 60,000 people a year with the flu. But we have contained it. We know what that number is going to be. We have hospital capacity. We have a medical system that has been, in many respects, built around that knowledge of what we can anticipate year after year. And the same with highways. And the difference with, yes, we could have everybody drive 10 miles an hour, and we could get rid of traffic deaths and fatalities by I don't know. I don't know if we could totally eliminate them, but we could get rid of almost all of them. But the thing is that traffic deaths do not grow exponentially. Traffic deaths are not a function. Like once you get one traffic death, that does not mean that you will get now three more traffic deaths. But if you are not mitigating the spread of an epidemic, that's what you will get. Now, that clip was from yesterday. Donald Trump today has now come out and said more like, well, we're looking at Easter, which is what? Easter is what? April 12th this year or something like that? It's right around Passover. I'll spare you the story of the Seder being the last dinner. But it's right around the first, second week in April. And that is 3 weeks away. And I will tell you something right now, that will not work either. At that point, what he is postulating is that he is assuming that New York, as the epicenter, the hardest hit because of the density, is going to have reached its peak by then. And it's going to be clear that it has stabilized and plateaued. And therefore, he's going to interpret that as, well, now we can basically go about our businesses because we have reached that plateau. One, the medical system will be near the brink of collapse if it hadn't collapsed under the weight. We don't know how severe it's going to be. Two, um, it's an assumption that we're going to have reached that point, but we're going to have reached that point because of the measures that are in place now. And if you remove those measures, what's going to happen is it's going to spike again. In 3 weeks, we anticipate that the measures we're practicing now will have caused the deaths to plateau. But that's not a permanent plateau. That's a function of the relationship between it's a relationship between deaths and new deaths and the practice of us staying at home. And if we don't stay at home, those deaths are going to rise again. But what it's doing is it's basically telling the rest of the country, like, hey, don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. And so what you get is something like this. This is from the newsadvance.com. Thousands of Liberty University students expected to return to campus amid coronavirus outbreak. It's almost an Onion headline, but not quite. I feel like it's not quite as funny as the Onion could make it. I feel like there's one or two like sort of like twists in that headline that would make it funnier. This is just sort of like tragic. I mean, this is I don't know how many of you remember Jim Jones and Jonestown. I can't remember how many people it was that went in and literally drank the Kool-Aid. I think that's where that phrase came from, actually. They drank the Kool-Aid that this cult leader told them to, and it killed them all. Um, and it was a mass suicide of his commune in Jonestown, Guyana. I don't know how many people it was. I can't remember, but it was a lot. A couple of dozen, was it? Um, and in many respects, this feels like like sort of a slow moving version of that. Defying a national trend of campus closure. I like it a bit like it's like a trend, like it's a fashionable trend. It's like a trend. The people are defying the national trend of campus closures. President Jerry Falwell Jr. has invited students to return to residence halls and directed faculty members to continue to report to campus, even as most classes move online. I don't understand this. Falwell said somewhere between several hundred and more than 5,000 students are expected to live in campus dorms where they'll continue coursework online rather than classrooms. So I guess they'll just keep passing it around to each other. I think we have a responsibility to our students who paid to be here, who want to be here, to love it here, to give them the ability to be there with their friends. I don't know how many of those will die. There are definitely stories of people, of young people getting ill as well. Um, Liberty's dorms and academic buildings and library and fitness center remain open. Maybe these kids go home to visit their folks in a couple of months. Who knows? The university has taken some steps to help slow the virus spread, gathering in campus buildings, including a handful of classes, still holding in person meetings, are capped at 10 people. Now, if it's the same 10 people that you can meet with, maybe you can get away with it. But if you switch up, they're just going to keep spreading it. It's just going to hop along. It'll be a fun thing to diagram. But that is what's happening on the right. They want to believe Donald Trump will take care of them, and that's going to be that. So we'll see. It was 900 and well around 10 died in Jonestown. Pretty ugly stuff.